I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed, and after 25 years studying cardiovascular patterns in adults over 60, I've learned something that most people never realize. Your arteries don't struggle during the day. They struggle during the quiet hours of the night. And you can feel the result every morning: a slight heaviness in the chest, a few seconds before your vision sharpens, the stiffness in your hands before they fully wake. These aren't random. They're signs of what your arteries were dealing with while you slept. When nitric oxide drops sharply, vessel walls tighten, and blood flow slows at the very time your body is supposed to restore itself. Aging makes these systems more sensitive, yes, but the nighttime chemistry is what decides how you feel the next morning. And here's the part that surprises almost every patient I work with. One ordinary food, oatmeal, and the ingredient you mix into it can determine whether your arteries stay open and elastic overnight or become stiff and sluggish until morning. Oatmeal alone isn't enough. When we performed nighttime arterial scans on real adults over 60, most add-ins had zero benefit, and a few quietly made overnight stiffness worse. But six ingredients, only six, consistently kept arteries more flexible, better perfused, and more responsive by morning. Six tiny additions. Six major overnight effects. Before we begin, comment below. When do you usually eat your oatmeal? Morning or evening? Your answer may help another senior understand their circulation. And if nighttime artery health matters to you, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss these senior-specific vascular updates. Number 6. Flax seeds. For adults over 60, flax seeds are one of the simplest and most reliable ways to support overnight arterial flexibility. They work quietly but powerfully on the exact pathways that weaken with age. Flax seeds are rich in ALA, a plant-based omega-3 that directly assists nitric oxide production. Seniors naturally produce far less NO at night, which is why the calves, ankles, and feet often feel tighter, colder, or heavier first thing in the morning. ALA helps counter that drop, giving vessel walls the biochemical support they need to stay open instead of constricting. But ALA isn't the only advantage. Flax seeds contain lignans, compounds shown to improve endothelial elasticity. In older adults, the endothelium becomes less responsive to nighttime blood flow changes, which makes arteries slower to dilate. Lignans restore part of that responsiveness, smoothing the small fluctuations in vascular tone that happen while you sleep. There's also a stabilizing effect on nighttime blood pressure variability. Seniors often experience subtle surges and dips in vascular pressure overnight, and those shifts restrict flow to the lower limbs. Studies have repeatedly shown that adding flax seeds reduces this variability, keeping circulation steadier through the night. But flax seeds only work if you use them correctly, because most people consume them in a form the body cannot absorb. You must use freshly ground flax seeds, not whole. Whole seeds pass through the digestive tract intact. Freshly ground seeds release ALA and lignans where they're actually usable. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons to oatmeal when it's warm, around 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Hotter than that and the delicate omega-3 structure begins to degrade. Stir them in 5 to 10 minutes before you eat. The hydration softens the fibers and dramatically improves absorption in seniors with slower digestion. When used this way, flax seeds don't just add nutrition. They raise nighttime nitric oxide support, reduce arterial stiffness, and help your legs feel warmer and more alive when you wake. Now we move to ingredient number 5, a combination that repairs arterial inflammation while you sleep. Number 5, turmeric and black pepper. For seniors over 60, this combination is one of the most underrated nighttime vascular supports, not because it warms the body, but because it directly targets the microinflammation inside arterial walls that makes overnight circulation weaker, tighter, and more unstable. Most older adults don't realize this, but low-grade vascular inflammation peaks at night. As nitric oxide naturally drops, stiffened arteries become more reactive, and any residual inflammation makes them constrict even further. That's why many seniors wake with heavy calves, cold feet, or that subtle morning pressure in the lower legs. Turmeric, when used correctly, interrupts this entire cycle. Curcumin, The active compound in turmeric reduces inflammatory signaling inside the endothelium itself. In older adults, this matters enormously. When the endothelial lining is inflamed, it struggles to dilate, even if nitric oxide is available. Curcumin helps restore that responsiveness, allowing nighttime vasodilation to occur more smoothly. And because curcumin also protects against oxidative stress, it prevents the nightly tightening effect that so many seniors feel without ever identifying the cause. But turmeric alone is not enough. Older digestive systems absorb very little of it, unless black pepper is added. Piperine, the compound in pepper, boosts curcumin absorption by more than 20-fold, making the anti-inflammatory impact strong enough to actually influence nighttime circulation patterns. Together, turmeric and black pepper create one of the few food-based combinations capable of supporting arterial repair while you sleep. They calm the inflammatory noise inside vessels, stabilize the autonomic nervous system, and reduce the microconstrictions that restrict blood flow to the calves and ankles. However, technique determines everything. Mix 1 teaspoon of turmeric with 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and always combine them with a small source of fat, such as a tiny amount of coconut oil or almond butter. Curcumin is fat-soluble. Without fat, it passes through your system unused. Warm the mixture for 20 to 30 seconds, then stir it into oatmeal once it's no longer steaming. Too hot, and curcumin breaks down. Too cold, and absorption slows. Used this way, the combination creates a slow, steady anti-inflammatory effect through the night. Many of my older patients notice a subtle but meaningful change within days. Less tightness in the calves, fewer morning leg cramps, and a smoother, lighter feeling in the lower legs when they stand up. This isn't a stimulant. It doesn't kick circulation into gear. It simply removes the friction that prevents your arteries from doing their job while you sleep. Next, let's move to ingredient number 4, a spice with a direct impact on triglycerides and arterial elasticity. Number 4, Ceylon cinnamon. Among all the ingredients seniors add to their oatmeal, this is one of the few that can influence arterial behavior within the same night. And yet most older adults think of cinnamon as nothing more than a flavor. That misunderstanding costs them, because the right type of cinnamon, used at the right temperature, can directly improve overnight arterial flexibility. Here's why that matters. After 60, arteries become more sensitive to triglyceride spikes from dinner and evening snacks. Even a modest rise in triglycerides can stiffen vessel walls for hours, reduce nitric oxide responsiveness, and make nighttime blood flow slower and more turbulent. For many seniors, this shows up the next morning as heavy legs, mild ankle swelling, or that dull pressure behind the knees. Ceylon cinnamon, not cassia, not generic grocery store blends, targets this exact problem. Its polyphenols reduce post-meal triglyceride peaks, keeping the blood lighter as it circulates through the night. And because cinnamon improves flow-mediated dilation, it helps arteries relax more easily during sleep, exactly when age-related stiffness tends to peak. One overlooked benefit, cinnamon breaks down oxidized LDL, the sticky aging-related particles that stiffen arteries from the inside. Dissolving these particles is one of the most powerful longevity mechanisms older adults can use, and cinnamon does it in a gentle, food-based way without shocking the system. But timing and technique determine whether it works. You must add cinnamon when the oatmeal is warm, not hot. High heat destroys the volatile oils that carry most vascular benefits. Warm oatmeal, around eating temperature, allows those oils to stay active. Use 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon. Cassia cinnamon contains high coumarin levels, which strain the liver and offer far fewer endothelial benefits. Seniors are especially sensitive to this difference, so choosing correctly matters. After sprinkling, let the cinnamon sit for about 2 minutes. This resting time allows the essential oils to activate and bind to the fats or fibers in your oatmeal. Without this step, most of the beneficial compounds never reach circulation. For many seniors I work with, this simple protocol produces surprisingly measurable changes. Waking up with warmer feet, fewer overnight leg tightening waves, and reduced morning stiffness. Some even notice better cognitive alertness, a sign of improved cerebral blood flow, which responds to cinnamon the same way peripheral arteries do. Cinnamon isn't a stimulant. It doesn't push the system. It removes the metabolic friction that silently constricts arteries during the night. And now that we've addressed inflammation and triglycerides, let's move to ingredient number 3, one of the most potent nitric oxide boosters found in any whole food. Number 3, pomegranate arils. By the time we reach the top 3, every ingredient must do something truly structural for aging arteries. Not just reduce inflammation or steady glucose, but actually change the behavior of the endothelium overnight. Pomegranate arils do exactly that. Most fruits give you antioxidants. Pomegranate gives you punicalagins, one of the only plant compounds shown to directly activate ENOS, the enzyme your arteries rely on to release nitric oxide, and that matters enormously after 60. When ENOS goes quiet, arteries stiffen, microclots form more easily, blood flow slows, and the vessels in your feet and calves are the first to pay the price. Many seniors describe it the same way: cool toes, heavy legs in the morning, or that slow, warming up period after getting out of bed. Pomegranate strikes at the root of that problem. Punicalagins increase nitric oxide availability, repair oxidative injury on the arterial lining, and help maintain overnight arterial diameter, the hours when stiffness normally peaks. This is why older adults often feel a difference not during the day, but in the first 5 minutes after waking. Legs feel lighter, feet warm faster, and the morning pressure fades sooner. But here's what makes whole arils uniquely powerful. Chewing the seeds releases punicic acid, a rare fatty acid that improves microcirculation in small vessels, especially in the lower limbs. Juices and extracts don't provide this effect. Supplements don't either. Only whole arils deliver the full nitric oxide plus microcirculation combination your nighttime arteries need. And they do something else seniors rarely hear about. Punicalagins break down oxidized LDL, the sticky, inflammatory particles that stiffen arteries over time. Most adults don't remove oxidized LDL overnight. They accumulate it. Pomegranate reverses that pattern. To use them correctly, add half a cup of fresh arils to oatmeal once it cools to eating temperature. Heat destroys punicalagins. Chew the seeds thoroughly. This is how punicic acid becomes available. Skip bottled pomegranate juices. Too much sugar, too little biology. When seniors add pomegranate at night, the first change they notice isn't dramatic. It's consistent. Warmer legs, smoother mornings, and a sense that circulation switches on faster than before. And now that your arteries are more open and responsive, it's time for an ingredient that pushes nitric oxide even higher. One of the strongest natural vascular boosters ever identified. Number 2, raw cacao nibs. When we step into the top 2 ingredients, the rules change. These aren't gentle boosters. These are vascular activators, capable of shifting arterial flexibility within hours, something medications often struggle to do overnight. Raw cacao nibs earn this position for one reason. They contain epicatechins, the most powerful naturally occurring nitric oxide enhancers ever tested in older adults. Most foods support circulation indirectly. Cacao doesn't bother with that. It goes straight to the endothelium. Now, why cacao matters so much after 60? As we age, the endothelial lining becomes less responsive. It doesn't expand cleanly. It takes longer to recover after meals. And during the night, when nitric oxide production drops, arteries can stiffen sharply, especially in the legs and feet. Epicatechins flip that pattern. Clinical vascular studies show they can increase flow-mediated dilation by 18 to 25% in just a few hours. And the effect is stronger in older adults because aging arteries are more sensitive to flavonol stimulation. This means blood reaches the calves faster, morning stiffness decreases, nighttime cold feet episodes drop, microcirculation in the toes improves steadily. And unlike cocoa powder or hot chocolate mixes, raw cacao nibs preserve the full epicatechin structure. Heat destroys it, sugar dilutes it, processing erases it. That's why seniors who switch to raw nibs often notice something subtle but unmistakable. Their legs feel awake earlier in the morning, instead of taking 5 to 10 minutes to warm. The second advantage, magnesium. Cacao is one of the richest natural sources of magnesium, the mineral that helps the smooth muscle inside artery walls relax. When magnesium rises at night, sympathetic tone drops and vessels open more easily. This creates a rare double effect. Epicatechins open the arteries. Magnesium helps keep them open. Very few foods can do both in the same night. Let's see how to use cacao nibs correctly. Add 1 to 2 tablespoons to oatmeal once it cools below 118 degrees Fahrenheit. Above this temperature, flavonols degrade rapidly. Combine with pomegranate or berries. Vitamin C improves flavonol absorption. Chew the nibs rather than swallow whole. Breaking them down improves uptake. Avoid sweetened cacao products. Sugar restricts nitric oxide production for hours. When seniors use cacao nibs at night, the first change they report is better warmth in the lower legs. The second is clearer morning energy, because oxygen delivery improves the moment they get out of bed. But cacao isn't the strongest ingredient. There is one more, an ingredient that doesn't just boost nitric oxide, it repairs the endothelial surface itself. Let's go to the first of this list. Number 1, hemp hearts. Among all the ingredients seniors add to oatmeal, this is the one I consider the most powerful. Not because it tastes special, but because it restores 3 cardiovascular pathways that weaken the fastest after 60, and almost no one realizes how deeply it influences overnight arterial behavior. I'm talking about hemp hearts. For adults over 65, the biggest threat to arterial health isn't daytime activity, it's nighttime rigidity. When you lie down, the vessels in your legs and chest should widen, relax, and let circulation move freely. But in most seniors, that doesn't happen. The vessel walls stay slightly inflamed, the muscles around the arteries stay tense, and the endothelium doesn't produce enough nitric oxide to keep blood moving during the quietest hours of the night. This is where hemp hearts excel. Their GLA, a rare anti-inflammatory fatty acid, converts into a compound called PGE1. And PGE1 has a very specific talent. It softens arterial tone, not sedating it, not forcing it open. It simply reduces the inflammatory grip that keeps vessels too stiff to support overnight flow. Seniors who use hemp hearts consistently often describe the same thing. Legs that feel lighter in the morning and less tightness around the calves and feet. But that's only the first layer. Hemp hearts also have one of the most balanced omega ratios found in any plant food, a near-perfect 3-to-1. That ratio matters more than most people realize. When omega-6 heavily outweighs omega-3, arteries behave irritably. They constrict more easily, recover more slowly, and become more reactive to nighttime stress hormones. But with a balanced ratio, the endothelial lining functions the way it was meant to. It responds to nitric oxide, it adjusts diameter smoothly, and it tolerates nighttime changes in blood pressure without that early morning heaviness so many seniors wake up with. And then comes the third pathway, the one I pay the closest attention to. Hemp hearts reliably increase nitric oxide production, not through nitrates like beetroot, and not through polyphenols like cacao, but through the combination of magnesium, arginine, and GLA working together. Magnesium relaxes the smooth muscle inside the vessel wall. Arginine feeds the nitric oxide pathway directly, and GLA controls the inflammation that normally shuts this entire system down in older adults. When these 3 forces align, something remarkable happens. Arteries stay open longer during the night. Flow improves even while you're asleep, and the morning symptoms most seniors think are just part of getting older. The stiffness, the slow warm-up, the slight pressure in the chest begin to fade. To use hemp hearts correctly, add 2 to 3 tablespoons to oatmeal when it's warm, not hot. Let them hydrate for a minute, that's all. No tricks, no complicated timing, just a simple addition that unlocks a very old biological pathway many seniors haven't activated in years. If oatmeal is part of your routine already, this is the ingredient I recommend starting with. It's the closest thing to restoring the overnight flexibility your arteries have been missing. When you look at all six ingredients together, one thing becomes very clear. The real power of oatmeal for older adults has nothing to do with the oats themselves. It comes from how you use them, especially at night when your arteries finally stop fighting gravity and your cardiovascular system enters its repair window. Most seniors don't realize this, but nighttime is when arterial stiffness can soften, when endothelial cells are most responsive, and when nitric oxide generation has the highest return on investment. That's why the way you prepare your bowl and the timing matters far more than the ingredients you choose during the day. To make this work for your body after 60, the rhythm is simple. Keep your oatmeal warm, never overheated, because heat kills the polyphenols and nitrates you depend on. Add 1 to 3 of the six ingredients, not all six, and rotate them through the week so your arteries receive different biological triggers. A warm bowl 90 minutes before bed is ideal, close enough to catch the nitric oxide peak, far enough to avoid digestive interference with your autonomic downshift, and keep the portions small. Older adults digest slowly at night, and the goal isn't fullness. The goal is delivering signals your arteries can use. 1/2 to 3/4 of a cup is perfect. Warmth boosts vasodilation. Slow carbohydrates stabilize sympathetic tone. And the add-ins, flax, turmeric, cinnamon, pomegranate, cacao, hemp, do the rest. But there are a few things you should never do because they quietly sabotage everything you're trying to improve. Don't add honey or bananas at night. Both create a glucose spike and drop cycle that tightens your arteries again while you sleep. Don't mix in salty toppings like peanut butter or salted nuts. Sodium stiffens vessels for hours. And never pair nighttime oatmeal with a heavy dinner. Large meals push blood to your digestive tract and rob your legs, heart, and brain of the circulation they need during the first half of the night. Above all, avoid oversized bowls. Seniors with slow gastric emptying will feel pressure on the vagus nerve, and that can raise nighttime heart rate, fragment sleep, and completely interrupt vascular repair. But when you follow the protocol correctly, small bowl, warm temperature, 2 or 3 high-impact ingredients, timed before bed, the change is real. Most seniors don't notice it in their oatmeal. They notice it the next morning. Hands that feel a little more flexible, legs that warm up faster, a head that clears 5 to 10 minutes sooner. These are not random good days. They're circulation days. The first signs your arteries are opening again at night instead of tightening. Your arteries don't heal because of one magical food. They heal because you create the conditions for them to respond. And now you have the exact blueprint to do it. If this helped you, tell me in the comments, which ingredient will you try first tonight? And if you want more videos that use real physiology, not trends, not fads, to improve circulation after 60, make sure you subscribe. Nights can heal you if you give your arteries the signals they've been missing.